Hey everyone, it is Elsa932 on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. My guests are not here yet, but I'm hoping they can join. Life is Reality isn't joining us this week. He is traveling, which is awesome for him. But I thank you so much for being here. We are talking Married at First Sight Australia, y'all. This is week 5. We have another commitment ceremony that happened today. We have so much that happened this week. The family and friends came through. Some were nice and some wreaked havoc. I don't know what to tell you, but some wreaked havoc. And I guess we should go through these couples the way they went through the commitment ceremonies. So let's just say last night they had a dinner party. Everything was fine, at least for some couples. And then we learned that Paul had an outburst this week. Paul found out that Karina was with a rapper that was playing on the radio, and he didn't have a very great reaction. And by very not great, I mean he had an outward physical reaction, y'all. He punched the door. First we heard the door, then we heard a wall. He had a physical outburst. So much so that we're on the street in Australia is that the police are investigating. That's a little too much for me. That's a little too much for me, Paul. Karina has forgiven him, but we'll get to confessions and see what the experts say. But also at the dinner party, Tony spoke up. Tony's like, Marina, you're nice and all, but your personality is crap. You're crapping on people. And I was like thankful that Tony finally spoke up, because many of us were looking at him like, Tony, please say something. She may not allow you to say something, but please speak up when the crowd is in the room. We find out Athena is hurting for Adrian. I don't know why. It seems like when Athena is away from her family that she can't step up for herself. What happened is that Adrian's twin sisters, they're twins themselves, and his best friend came for the family visit, and his best friend had vitriol for Athena. His best friend went at Athena, and I was just shocked. I was like, where is this coming from? Because it more sounded like an ex-girlfriend than it sounded like a best friend looking out for her best bud. She was like, well, what are you doing? She even questioned whether Athena is a good mother because she's on the show. Athena basically said, I'm missing my son. I'm missing milestones. I'm a good mother. And she's like, really? It don't sound like it. Y'all, the best friend was doing too much. And word on the social media streets is that the best friend now is no longer friends with Adrian and has since apologized to Athena. But Athena's sister came in and did what your sister's supposed to do. She came in and she handled business. She's like, what you're not going to do in this friends and family visit is come at my sister while I'm sitting here. So I'm guessing Athena's sister is the warrior princess in this group, in this pairing of twin sisters, because Athena seems to be just taking on the weight on her shoulders. I just was like, Athena, I need some fire here. Don't just back down to everything that Adrian is saying. Whew. So, y'all, Marina has been missing since the commitment ceremony, the dinner party. And so we'll start with Marina and Tony. Let me pull up their pictures to remind you guys. They're right in front of my face. Marina and Tony. So Marina has been missing since the dinner party. And since she's been missing since the dinner party, Tony just doesn't know where she is. Her ring is, I think that was at the house, but I'm not sure what Tony was holding. But it was like very, very odd that she just disappeared. But then again, Tony, you've been doing a disappearing act. She has called you Houdini. Okay? Marina has called Tony Houdini. So you shouldn't be surprised, Tony, if for one time Marina decides to disappear. Okay? So we'll talk about their confession. And I now have my guest has arrived. Hey, Kojo, how's it going?
Yo, what's good? You right?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes. We're talking about the Married at First Sight. We're talking about Australia. It's crazy, isn't it?
Real crazy. Marina is missing since the dinner party. And she shows
Wow.
up at the commitment ceremony when Tony sits on the couch. She's like, Tony's not going to get the last word. I am not gonna have it, and she lets them have it. What did you think about Tony and Marina?
Yeah, no, listen, I look. Tony has been missing for a little while, right? We know Tony has been going off every week, to go and see whoever he's going to see, right? And he's been doing that for a good few weeks now. Now, of course, I'm not saying that Marina can just do whenever she wants. Of course not. But I do believe that with Marina, that she wanted to have a moment. That's why when she came back in, she came in like she was a WWE rock star, and came in the room and said, "Don't think I was gonna let him have the last word," which is what it was about. Really, it wasn't necessarily about her needing the space, but more of a case of creating a scene. So listen, I mean, she has every right to feel some way about some of the things that have happened in the relationship. Like, we're not 100% sure if Tony really is not still married. So if he did tell her that on the honeymoon, which she kind of spilled on another interview, then I kind of understand why there may be some frustrations there. Um, so obviously her going away, I get it. She wanted to reset herself because another thing is that Tony then let us know all of a sudden that he wants kids. Hey, listen, I'm all down for you changing your mind, but when you told the experts, you didn't say you wanted kids. So I really get her frustration when it comes around him talking about suddenly the age situation and all that kind of stuff, because we also got fed that information by the show earlier in the very first wedding when his cousin came and said, "Isn't she a little bit older than what you usually go for?" So we've been set up in this particular way to have this information fed to us over the course of the time, which did make me feel a little bit like the show is. I know it's scripted, but it made it feel even more scripted with that moment. But hey, let's work with what we got. So yeah, I did feel like obviously she was having a moment when she did that. And it doesn't take away from the things that she needs to learn. She needs to learn how to listen to people. She needs to learn how to take her time, and she needs to learn how to allow other people into a conversation and room. Because Tony may have done all these things, but that doesn't give you an excuse to act the way you did towards Tony. Or even better yet, let's take Tony out of the situation, how you acted towards your other contestants or your other colleagues, right? So that's got nothing to do with Tony. It's to do with how your disposition is. So I felt like she was entitled to have her moment. I get it. She wanted to have that moment, but she also, just like, if she didn't like Tony going off, right? And you want the experts to hold him accountable, fair. Then you're gonna be have to also be held accountable because you didn't communicate, you didn't say anything, you just dipped off. Something that she may have to just deal with.
I agree with you. And she keeps saying she wants to be treated like a lady. Tony started doing that, and she flayed him for that. He stood up when she walked into the room. That is gentlemanly. And she's like, "Don't stand up, don't stand up." He's trying to be the gentleman you want him to be. Don't like flay him for it. Just recognize it and understand it. I think she's so mad at him that she can't see gestures. She's so mad at everybody else. She's not seeing them just laughing at a joke and not laughing at her. Yes, Tony's 180 about wanting a family. It could be, I'm not giving him an excuse, but it could be you sitting here, you're looking at everybody else, you're looking at how she's talking about her kids, you're realizing you don't have any children at your age, and it's like, well, maybe this is something. So if Tony, you wanted to do this, maybe you could talk about adoption. You could have talked about another way of having a kid in your life. So while I don't totally buy it, Tony did shut it down from his cousin when he was trying to disrespect her at the wedding about her age. So that's a little caveat I will give him. But he's trying to be a gentleman. Let him be a gentleman. But she came in really swinging, and he said, "It's been a roller coaster. Let's leave." And she's like, "You're 53, behave like one, good riddance." Is that ladylike? Is that ladylike? Because we want to be treated like a lady and we're not acting like a lady. Any other thoughts for Tony and Marina?
Listen, I think there's like I said, we said it in the very beginning of week one. I think there's great opportunities for growth here for both people. May not be with each other, but I hope they're gonna learn the key lessons here. Tony needs to learn how to be more assertive, stop taking on things and just allowing it to play out. The way that he dealt with Morena, as much as I think she's a very fierce woman, Tony has to learn how to be assertive and let her know from the very beginning how he feels about things, so it doesn't get on top of him. And I think that's a really important thing for Tony in future relationships. Not just choosing a woman who can talk more quietly, because then you still haven't learned the lesson. So it's about being able to be assertive as well and being able to talk up for yourself so that you're not having to say at the very end, you know, you're very, very beautiful, but you've got a personality. And we've all been there where things get on top of you, and then now you're blazing the person, which we've all been there, but that's also an indication of the lack of ability to be able to be assertive. So that's something he has to really learn going forward as well. And then just being upfront and honest. Maybe he used the kid situation as an excuse to get out of this relationship. Who knows? But even that then tells me you're very passive aggressive, because then you should just say, listen, I don't want to be in it. You know what I'm saying to you? Or I don't like the way you're behaving. Those are more assertive ways to deal with a situation. So hopefully he takes that on board. And for Morena, I hope she also learns. Although I've watched one or two of her interviews, it doesn't look like she's learned. It looks like she still believes that she's a victim. And I think she's been carrying that for a little while beyond this relationship. I just hope that she can do the work now externally. That even though you've been doing all the work, this relationship should highlight. There's a little bit more that you can start doing just so that you're not reacting in this way where it's like every time she reads, like for instance, she's like, I won't be told to shut up. But I think that's not what we're trying to tell you. What Tony's trying to tell you is allow me also to function in this relationship as well. But she reads it as you're shutting me up, which is part of what abuse she suffered in previous relationships.
Right, that is correct. She is blaming production in her interview. She is saying that they have left things out to make her look like this villain and to make Tony look like the victim. And there's no way we can kind of find compassion when she doesn't seem like she's learning anything. But to move on to the next, I mean, next commitment ceremony was non-problematic Jamie and Dave. They had a great family visit. You know, her mom, his family. You know, they're feeling warm and fuzzy. They think about the future. But while they were talking, I will be talking about this too. The whispers of Adrian telling Athena, "Don't talk about our family visit in detail." But Jamie and Dave are kind of non-problematic this week. But Jamie didn't want to be a fish mama. She did not want Billy leaving his fish children at her house. But Dave said, "We're gonna take these fish in." Is that gonna be our main conflict with this couple?
Yeah, more than likely at this point, you know what I mean? Because they haven't got anything going against them. Shout out to them because that's a really good indication again, once more, that you are doing all the right things in your relationship as well. Because, you know, listen, hey, when I saw the fish come in the room, I too was pissed off. I was like, my brother, you had these fishes, take them with you. You know what I mean? Or find a stream and a pond. I don't know what. It doesn't have to be in my house. You get what I'm saying to you? So, to be honest, I was with Jamie on this one. I said, Dave, take them fishes. There is a stream. Billy's not going to miss it, okay? They are goldfishes. They'll find themselves another family. But, yeah, no, it's a really good indication that they're doing really, really well. And, of course, they asked her how she felt. She said she's really enjoying the relationship. You know, it's going well, you know, as well. And they're starting to feel fuzzy feelings. So, you know what I mean? It's taken them a bit of a while. 5 weeks to find fuzzy feelings is crazy. But you know, they're now starting to feel fuzzy feelings. So, it is so far on a good path as well. And I hope to see them, you know, more and grow. As I always said, I do believe that all I'm ever asking, I just need them to shut up about other people's relationships. I get it that they want to stand up for people, but my thing is, whenever you start putting your hand in other people's pots, your hand's gonna get burnt one time, and then your hand's burnt, but then your hand's burnt in your own relationship. It's just no. I think you just need to just, like I said, if you want to call out people, pull them to the side. All this, because you gain secret enemies. I think that's the main thing. It makes everyone think like, oh, you think you're better than us, and it's human. It's human, you know, psychology of how people feel to it. They don't look at it as you're helping me. They look at it as you're trying to call me out to look better. And so again, Dave this week again once more called out Adrian. I mean, I'm glad he did because someone needed to. But my thing is, again, that's why the experts need to be experts. But you know, my thing is actually, bro, you probably need to call him to the side and talk to him, because doing this in the public again once more, if this is a, like for instance Adrian and Athena, their situation, if all I could think of was, you're even lucky you got a response from Athena, because if this is usually, and I don't like to say it, it's almost getting to a point where Adrian and Athena looks almost abusive. So when you're dealing with someone who's in an abusive relationship, you calling out that man actually doesn't help you at all, because in most cases that woman will end up defending him, and then you end up getting burnt. So that's why I was like, it gets to a point where we have to start realizing it's not everything we can call out at that point in time, and rather there are different ways to skin a cat. And I think we need to find different ways to skin the cat. Right now, we're just skinning it by, bludgeoning the cat, and it's like find another way.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, if Dave said, we heard you trying to, quash her voice while on the couch, that's one thing because that was done in public. But you're correct. Calling Adrian out in a public setting isn't going to have the desired effect that you want because he may take it out on Athena later. He's already heightened in taking, getting Athena to not speak and not talk. But we'll get to Adrian and Athena. But yeah, Dave is he needs to watch it because their great relationship is getting borderline preachy. And what you don't want to be is like preachy, like, look at us, we're doing so well, so you should listen to us. So I'm hoping Dave doesn't fall into that category. Jamie talks well about the relationship, but it seems like Dave is kind of like, listen to us, we're the old married couple. Now, one couple that I did not think was going to have a great week, but they had a stellar week. I was quite shocked, quite amazed, and loved it for Ryan and Jackie. Their friends came and did a phenomenal job in explaining or translating how the other one can talk to each other and translate exactly what they're saying to each other. Because Jackie's friends were like, yes, she needs a lot of attention. Yes, she needs a lot of effort, but it's not a whole big grand gesture effort. And his friends are like, hey, he hasn't been in a relationship in a long time. He's still stretching his legs. So could you give him a lot of grace? So Jackie and Ryan had a great week. She decided to stop coming at Rye, which is perfect. And they feel like they progressed. And she feels like Ryan has her back.
Yeah, no, it was actually really good to see. I mean, we all knew that it can get to this point, right? Now, obviously, we just hope that they can continue it. But we all knew they can get to this point because of the fact that they're actually very similar. They're very, very similar in the way that they are, right? And it's always been a power struggle between the two of them. And so it's been a case of can they get over the hump of the power struggle? Now, again, I want to see this continue for the next few weeks. But like I said, I think as dirty as some of the behavior has been, when I say dirty, what I mean by that is as bad as behavior has been from both sides, in terms of the warfare that they've implemented. And there's some things in there that me personally would have pulled my wife to the side and told her, listen, don't you ever do that again. And I'm not even talking about towards me, just the way she handled Rye and the Rye situation. You know what I mean? Saying I would have had to pull you aside on a separate thing, quietly have told you, listen, we're not doing this. First and foremost, you're not going to be texting someone else's man. Number two, you're not going to be gaslighting them, right? Because that means I'm next. So I need you to, you know what I'm saying, to roll that in. But in public, I respect the fact that they were backing each other because as wrong as it was her behavior, he backed it. You know what I'm saying, Chu? Like he tried to defend it even on the table. He and I've always heard from one of my friends, shits and giggles. Shout out to James. One thing I told you, I always keep saying, I remember this as kids, is that one time when I tried to say his ex-girlfriend was crazy, he told me, ever say that again, you're dead. And that let me know that it doesn't matter what happens, you can't talk about my partner. I can, but you can't. It lets people know there are levels so that no one can disrespect your partner and inadvertently disrespecting you. So I think that was what a powerful thing that they did. I think Jackie just wanted to be covered. I think Ryan also wanted to be covered. You know what I'm saying to you? Because he still says one of a few things a little bit cheeky and maybe a little bit silly. For instance, again, he mentioned about how the sex was great again the second time. I understand what he was saying, but he just got to be very careful. You're treading on thin water, my guy, right? But again, they support each other and they backed each other. So they have the right principles. They just need to execute it correctly to continue the great work. And of course, they're now having full-on sex apparently. So that always helps as well. But again, we'll see how long that actually lasts.
Yeah, Jackie, it seems, is very cerebral. And what she said this week is she threw out something that was innocuous that she didn't think Ryan would know much about. And they had a great conversation because he knew. She seems quite cerebral. So it's like Ryan probably has to just play that kind of tennis game with her, throw out something that maybe, elevated mentally to give her some mental challenges because I think that's where she is and she feels like, valued, great conversation. And, she didn't have to teach him anything. I guess his warrior personality could come out. But they were certainly a surprise this week, and the friends and family certainly helped them come around. And I was shocked. I really thought they were hightailing it out of there. Another couple that had a great friends and family, and I was worried for this because they dated before the show, was Rye and Jeff. Apparently, Rye's mama has put Jeff in the family group chat. She has thanked Jeff for taking care of her daughter while in this experiment. And they have been coasting and they have gotten closer and is in the full throes of a relationship or this marriage. So Ryan and Jeff had a very, uneventful families week. What were your thoughts on them?
Yeah, no, again, slow and steady wins the race, as they say, right? So watching obviously Ryan Jeff, I think it's quite interesting because of they don't necessarily spark any like intrigue or excitement, if I'm honest with you, right? But that is not necessary. It's their marriage. You know what I mean? Like you're not entertaining me for the rest of my life. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So instead he wins the race, and they're unimaginative in terms of what they present to us as an audience. But it seems like they're making headway, right? They've been clogging along quietly behind the scenes, and it just seems to work. And they obviously put in the groundwork in terms of foundations when it comes to the emotional work that they've tried to do. They seem to be very even killed. Again, we saw Jeff back Rye vehemently when it came to the situation where Jackie, he didn't hide anything. He was very open. He gave the information to her so she can do what she needs to do with it. So really, again, it was a slow and steady burner. They seem to be in a good place, and coasting along. Maybe there's something I don't know. Maybe there's again, like I said, they might be doing some other things behind the scenes. That excites them and stuff like that. So I don't want to judge them on what I can't necessarily see. But so far, so good. They seem to be getting on quite well. I'm still looking for more of that body language. So like when I see them on a couch, I don't necessarily see. You know what I mean? Like either they're not having. I mean, they said they're having sex now, right? So, but I'm not seeing that. Like even couples that are toxic, bad, have better body language. You know what I'm saying? To like, when people are getting it in. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see that with them. There's almost like a separation with them. Now they may be just two individual people that are very independent and require their own space, and so therefore you don't see that in the body language, which is what you can see of certain couples. I don't get that energy from Rye. I think Rye wants more of that because the way she talks about things. I don't know if Jeff is able to. I don't know if Jeff is able to even give that to her yet. I don't know if he's comfortable yet to give that to her. Not necessarily to do with, let's say, Rye's a bad person or not. Rye doesn't fancy her. Maybe it's more of a case of just that's how Jeff is in his head. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I'm not really getting. They're still not there yet. It feels like, but again, people do not hate to entertain me when it comes to that match.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Rye is the one that said that Jeff has got to take the lead and get them out the friend zone. And it seems it took him a couple weeks just to get there. And now we're here and you're saying you're, closer and more intimate with each other, but it still feels like there's a continent between you. It just doesn't feel like they've gotten as close as they're saying they've gotten. And as we're saying, it could be that they're just comfortable with each other because they've been through the hot and heavy phase when they first dated each other. So it could be we're past that. We're in a home stretch. Let's make this marriage work and let's just, blend each other's lives. So it could be that for Ryan and Jeff. I'm not quite too sure, but it could be that. But who has certainly, as we're turning up the heat a little bit at a time, Adrian and Athena. This week when I started the live, I had mentioned that the family visit, how it got really, really, really loud. It was Adrian's twin sisters and his best friend, and the best friend gave kind of a snippy remark as to whether Athena was a good mother or not, and that hits home, especially with someone who's missing and away from their child. And Athena's sister was like, "Not on my watch, okay? Not on my watch." While the families are kind of defending each person, I don't think anyone is listening. I don't think anyone is listening And no one's even noticing that Athena is being muted, even on the couch, even around the other couples. Adrian is whispering, let's not talk about this, let's not. The most backbone I saw her have was at the dinner party when she called him out and said, you don't want to talk about it with the group, but you said it already, but you don't want me to talk about my side. Okay, I got it. So Athena, all I could see is just her shriveling up. I just wish she would say leave and just leave. I don't know why she's continuing to do this because Adrian seems like he's just here for the promos. What are your thoughts on them?
Well, listen, there is accountability on both sides that needs to be taken. That conversation with the friends and the family was one that was for the ages, right? So I think first and foremost, they have passionate people on both sides. Of course, I think the sister was outnumbered. They're 3-1, 4-2 in a sense, and very strong on that particular side when it comes to Adrian. I can see why Adrian is the way he is. It's giving that Adrian has a lack of accountability and is able to gaslight, manipulate, and all those things because he has got away with so much in that family. You know, sometimes when you're the two boys and you got surrounded by girls, and you know what I'm saying, you can get away with that because he's lacking accountability and self-awareness of where he makes mistakes, and usually that's a tendency of behavior that you've been privy to for a very long time in your childhood, where you are allowed to get away with certain things. Oh, it's just Adrian, or you know, boys will be boys kind of energy, rather than actually really being told this is bad behavior. This needs to stop. This needs to change. This needs to see it differently. You need to be responsible here. And I didn't really see that with his sisters. You know, if anything, the sisters should have been actually. I'd have thought the sisters, and I said this with of course, not them to go all the way to Athena's side, but a little bit like, hey, you know what? It's another lady. You know, let's just listen to her a little bit more. Or maybe even ask a few more questions to kind of understand both sides, right? In a sense, they were ready to almost place the blame on Athena and without really fully understanding. And of course, he had told them stories, so it's only natural that they are going to probably have more of that energy. But, you know, as you mature and you get older, it's about being able to weigh up multiple sides so you can able to really get the full story across the board. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, I have little sisters and I have little brothers. If they tell me a story now, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I believe it. I'm like, all right, I hear you. So what? Wait, give me the other side. What's going on? Because if you give me one side, I cannot even give you full advice because really and truly, I'm only hearing your perspective. You know what I mean? So the sisters were on 10. Like, you know what I'm saying? The sisters were on 10 and ready to shoot and kill, which I hear it, but it gave that the brother can't defend himself. It's almost given that you the older one and you've always been defending Adrian, and so it's almost like Adrian can throw a rock and then be like, my sister's gonna defend me. So hey, you can't. Do you know what I mean? That's how it felt like. So I was disappointed in that, and you can hear it because after they left, the way they were talking about the situation, right? You could hear that it was that kind of situation. I think what I would say where I do agree with them is that they were holding Athena to some little bit of account, but it's the way they did it that didn't allow for it to land. There is questions that need to be asked. First and foremost, Athena, if you know you done told this man you're not going to talk about your kid, you cannot then turn it around and be like, he hasn't asked about my kid. What were you expecting? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I started talking more about my child, so I expected you to ask. No, no, no. We can't be doing that. I expect someone to ask. You told a direct command that he should not talk about your kid. At that point, be accountable. And I saw her dodge that and reflect that. And I said, no, that's not it. Number two, yes, I knew they questioned her motherhood, but it's because of the fact that she made that comment. And then she obviously, and also because she's making a decision based on what she feels like and not with her child. Because right now, she actually is ignoring the child aspect because she knows that Adrian doesn't want a child. And he's been mistreating her the whole entire time. And she's been telling us that, you know, she has to think about her child. But none of her decisions are telling us she's thinking about her child. So I can see why they questioned her. But again, I'm not saying she's a bad mother. I don't think she is. I think she's somebody who's got caught up in an emotional state. And those emotions are wrapping her up. But it shows us where there is a weakness in your behavior and where you need to do some work to really improve. Because the priorities are being shifted. This week was even what threw me off even more, and I hope that they edited it in a way that they took an old conversation with Athena and deposited it here in their confessions. Because this week when they were talking about going into the into the experts conversation, she said, "I hope it brings us closer together." I said, "Athena, where? You're supposed to be separate." Yeah, she said it before they went on to things. She said like, "I hope this by not because she was talking about they're not telling whatever, but she was talking about having talked with the experts. She's like, I hope it brings us together." And I said, Athena, sorry, you're meant to be done. This man doesn't want your kids. She's not treating you right. He's now controlling how you speak. At this point, sis, you're done. You should be done. You know what I'm saying to you? But you're thinking about that, and then going into obviously the conversation with the experts, she's now mute, and you can hear there's a lot more work that thing needs to do, because when you are in a place where you are, of course, I can care about you, but I'm still going to put my needs first. Why? Because I've learned how to be assertive and not passive. What she's doing is actually self-abandoning her needs and saying, well, I do have needs, but Adrian is more important. And the reason why, and I'll end on this point, you can jump on this, Elsaid, is because first and foremost, she isn't also being true. She has been sucked in by the fact that he's a good-looking boy, and she is, and this is more about her than him being. It's about what she feels about herself due to her catching a big fish. And so because of that, she's holding on to something that doesn't need to be held on to. They asked you a simple question. What do you like about Adrian? Could not answer. What do you like about Adrian? Could not answer. Then started deflecting. I said, sis, you don't like that man. You fancy him. He's sexy. You're having sex. You're opening your legs. Maybe it's been a long time. I don't care. But you are sucked in. And there's nothing to do with you liking him. And I think that answer told us all we needed to know.
Well, since you took the whole, time with Athena, let me tackle Adrian, okay? Let's divide and conquer. So, as you said, Adrian is used to having his sisters fight his battles. I don't know if it's with significant others or just everything. It does seem to be the sisters or the twins that came first. Um, I almost had a little bit of respect for the sister that came back in to say, hey, she understands. She's a mother too. But then she went left with the wording, and she tried to again put the blame game on Athena, and she lost traction. And the minute she got, because Athena and her sister were like, oh, yes, we want to talk. We wish to share our perspective to you. And she kind of like, this, she got abrasive. But we learned why. And I think this is how Adrian is treating her too, not just because she became her mother. But the sister said something. That same sister went outside and said, when you put a bow on a trash can, it is still a trash can. It sounded very elitist. It sounded like y'all are commoners. Y'all are beneath us. Why was he even matched with you? And I'm just going to ride this out till the end. And it seems like that's how he's treating her. Like he believes the same way his sister believes that she is trash. And that is disrespectful on all levels. So while he's there for the promo, while he's there, he doesn't care. He's going to use everything to stay afloat. But he's not treating her like she's valuable at all. He's not treating her like he cares about anything she has to say. He didn't even want to do the tasks. So he doesn't care what the experts say. So my thing is, who does Adrian listen to? Who does Adrian follow? Or who does Adrian even respect? Because there's nothing about this process that he's doing, and he's still allowed to coast, which tells me that could be his life. As you said, he's a good-looking chap. He's able to smile and grin his way out of things, and it seems like he's doing the same thing in this process. And Athena, you're the one person, well, apart from the three experts, one person I could tell him, no, you're not going to grin. And she said that every now and again, but she falls right back into the trap. So, Adrian, you've got to look within. It's not about Athena. It's not about what anybody says about you. Why does it grate your nerves that Athena would say exactly how she feels? She's allowed to say how she feels. It's because you don't want to hear it. You don't respect it. You don't want to hear it, and it grates your nerves. So why stay? Because you wish to be on television. And that's the wrong reason to be here trying to be in a relationship of any kind, especially when the rest of the cast, all the men on the couch were rolling their eyes when he was talking about how he liked her and this. All the men were like, bollocks. All the men said, crap, this ain't happening. And I would pull him aside, but I think Dave knows Adrian ain't gonna listen. He not gonna listen because he probably think everybody else is beneath him. I'm sorry. But anything else for Athena and Adrian and their interactions this week? Okay, if no nothing else, we have a few more couples to get to. One that I am excited for us to talk about because I think we may be on different terms with this one. Veronica and Elliot. Y'all, this was an accelerated week for Veronica and Elliot. They did the ranking, the photo ranking challenge. For those of you who do not watch Married at First Sight Australia, the couples are given the pictures of all the people in the experiment, and the bride is to rate the grooms and then place her groom in a particular category. While Elliot had a lot to say about the brides, he placed her first. She placed him third. And she based it not just on looks like he did, she placed it on how very open and vulnerable and communicative that the groom is. Okay. Then they had Confessions Week, where they write about an experience and tell and talk to their partner about. Well, what we didn't see is Veronica sharing a very open letter about herself and her endometriosis and her diagnosis and how she's had to live with that. And Elliot shared that his sister had a health scare and his mother was very emotional about it. And his father came in very stoic and was able to handle everything. And that taught young Elliot not to let his emotions get away from him. While Elliot felt he was sharing a lot, Veronica said she did not learn anything new about him. Kojo, what were your thoughts about this couple?
No, let me tell you this now. Listen, this situation, we all felt bad on Elliot the first time. I mean, we all felt Elliot was a demon the first time round. I think he found out there are principalities above him. Listen, this situation between Elliot and Veronica. First and foremost, we've got to start at the origin of the madness of where this has started from. This has started from the fact that Veronica was actually a carefree person, all right, but she went and saw something which was with Elliot and how he behaved in the diner's lounge. This sets the tone. And unfortunately for Elliot, Veronica is now seeing that and going, my friends warned me of something. Now I'm seeing something. I'm not going to be a victim. Unfortunately, she's gone almost too far, where now she's lacking the ability to empathize with what everything was going on. But that's actually the origin. Okay. Now that means that there probably should have been more of a conversation with her and Elliot to really kind of flesh out her feelings. That actually she was starting to, I mean, she mentioned it when they spoke after, but to say, hey, I don't feel safe. What I saw that day on the dinner table, you know what I'm saying to you, rather than telling her she can handle it, which is probably what she's done all her life. At this point, you didn't feel you can handle it. And then you went to have a conversation with the woman in question because you actually identified with how she felt and you felt some level of sympathy for her and the fact that you're also dealing with this man. And then Lauren then obviously put 2 on 10 because Lauren herself is a problem. But then put 2 on 10 and spoke about how bad he was, etc., etc. And whilst I do think Elliot is bad in a sense, one thing that I always respect about him, and I tell it from the very beginning, is that he's true. If he don't like you, he don't like you. He ain't here to do all that stuff and mince his words and mince how much he's gonna be around you. He said that from the very beginning. If I don't like him, I walk. I respect the fact that man says it says he's gonna do it. He did it. He walked after 4 days, whether you like it or not, whether it was childish or not. There were some things in between that he could have been done a bit better. I agree. The way he spoke about Lauren to try and get out of the situation, I hear it. But he walked, right? So I get it. She was infiltrated, and unfortunately, by the time she gets now back to Elliot, and they're now having their situation, I think actually this issue was not about Elliot. I think this was deeper for Veronica in a sense of, she's asking for him to go deeper, right? And I'm saying, for what though? Because he gave you something deep. He gave you something that he had experienced and it affected him. Now, maybe you wanted him to package it in a different way and be like, for me personally, but he actually explained it. He said, listen, this situation with my sister, this is a very deep situation. I felt pain here. I felt this, I felt that. And said, he said, obviously, the world was ending, right? And these are words, okay, they're not necessarily deep feelings in terms of describing emotions, but that is explaining somebody's feeling. So what we need to be doing is asking more questions without the judgment. And that's where she went wrong. She started judging him because then she put him in a category. And when she did that, when she put him in a category, that was on her. She didn't put herself in a place of inquiry. She put herself in a place of judgment, and she actually started asking a few more questions. Say, "Hey, Elliot, I'm not really fully understanding this. Like, bring me more into that word. I know it's probably very a bit more difficult. Like, but I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. But you didn't do that because during that conversation when you was talking, you know what I'm saying? You try to sun him. You try to say about raising your voice when you were doing it. You were both at the same level. Okay, all right. You we had a bit of time. It was about an hour or two that passed. You went away. When he came back to you, you're acting feisty. How are we acting feisty about something that I shared with you? How are you acting feisty when I shared my life with you? I read my letter to you. This is my vulnerable moment with you. And I think she had such a more critical viewpoint to the situation because she'd already been infiltrated by what she had seen and the conversation with Lauren. So that is on Veronica. She's gonna have to. She's gonna, and now she has to walk that back slightly, and actually has to start like looking at the situation differently. But yeah, even with the experts, how cold she was, right? She was trying to not be overtaken by Elliot, but I said you've already been overtaken because you can't find balance. And that tells me that you weren't balanced in the first place. A balanced person is able to be balanced all the way through, and she got thrown off balance. That's because she was already off balance. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So unfortunately, what I saw was somebody go to it. She now looked like the narcissistic person because especially the experts, it was so cold, and I was like, baby, can you not understand that someone shares their life with you, like that's something deep for them? Now he may be a narcissist, and we know there's some narcissists or covert. I'm not saying he actually is, but he like covert narcissists who share their life with you to try and get you to feel empathy. So I get that, right? But then that's why you have to be balanced so that you can also observe it in a way. So yeah.
So I'm a little unbalanced then because I understand Veronica. I totally understand Veronica. And now I understand her more based on learning that she gave her confession first. So I'm going to leave that caveat that she was very raw and open. And her expectation was that her spouse was raw and open, but Veronica is still a stranger. That's about as much grace I'm going to give for that. But I understand what she said. He was very stoic and clinical in how he was saying this was a huge thing for the family. I didn't hear his emotion. I didn't hear that as a young man, this, it was the end of the world. People say that arbitrarily, but what does the end of the world mean to you? People say that. It's a slang term. Said, okay, I felt like I would no longer have my sister. She wanted to hear about his relationship with his sister, his relationship with his family. How has that made him feel knowing that his sister was sick and, had to pull through something very, major? So I understood that. But the thing is, because he's so stoic, because he gave you the key to the lock, because he's so stoic, because he's not going to let his emotions get away from him, you've got to pick that lock gently. And given the tools to it, if she had kept on pulling that thread, he would have opened up. But she felt, here's how I don't know Veronica, but this is how I would have felt in that situation. She felt like though she was open, he was still closed off, and it could have felt like a rejection. Like I'm able to get this open and close to you, but you don't want to share of yourself on the same level that I am willing to share. And Veronica, dear, he is still a stranger. I appreciate you sharing, and I'm sure it's probably a whole lot she shared why they did not air it. They did not air it at all. It may be too much. So I would say in all of this that Veronica was listening, but she was listening with her heart and not her ears, and her heart was bruised. And so she could not hear him, and he could not hear her at all. But I understand where she was. There was no depth to what Elliot was saying. There was no depth. And even though there was no depth, she, of course, as this comment says, she didn't ask questions. She did not say, okay, where do you see, being unemotional can get you in a committed relationship? Where do you think stoic can get you in getting closer to someone? Are you stoic with your sister? Are you stoic with your parents? Or is it just outward stuff? Because Veronica could have gone further, but I think with her, sharing and being open, that kind of closed the door since he wasn't as open with her. Any other
And that's
thoughts
why I
for
said
these?
she, yeah, that's why I said she's unbalanced. Because if she was balanced, her next line of inquiry would have been inquiry. Her next line was to judge him rather than to be curious. Her tone, her questions, they were aimed at judging him as I've already decided that you're being unemotional, rather than going actually he shared something. I'm not fully understanding. Like, bring me into that world a little bit more so I can understand where you're coming from. You said, like you just said, he gave you the keys by giving you a little bit of a roadmap. He started a roadmap by saying, this event is what led to my stoicism. That is the answer. So it's about then understanding, okay, I know that this event is very prominent to his life, right? And understanding that there is an emotional Elliot, but it stopped at this age. So there is a case of I've got to try and prize these things out of him and take it on a journey. And that's when I looked at Veronica. I was like, so, and the reason why, and I look at again, Veronica's harshness on Elliot is really a reflection on herself. It is a really a reflection on yourself, because maybe you have been so raw and open and honest, and I respect that. And maybe that raw and open and honest that you felt, you are projecting your feelings of rejection now onto the situation, because he didn't reject you. He literally shared his perspective of what he had been through. You get what I'm saying to you? So it's a case of then being again open. Veronica, if you felt like it was like you feel rejected, then say that. Don't flip it and then make. I'm not saying shit because we know that we're just hypothetically making a case. Don't flip it, because what you're describing actually happens in relationships. It's like, oh, I shared so much, but you didn't share anything. No, 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 stop. You're projecting how you feel about the situation. Just be real and honest. I've shared so much, and it feels like you haven't shared the same level of me. But I need to also be aware that maybe this is your level of how much you can share. But I am intrigued, and I am intrigued to know a bit more about you if you're willing to share, right? And that's coming from somebody who's balanced. I didn't feel that with Veronica. She's balanced, and that's why she went all the way to the other side, and now she have to come back. Let's hope that both her and Elliot are not gonna, be fighting cats and dogs after this.
Well, she seemed to have, been, very gentle at the end of this. I was hoping for more balance with the experts. They did talk to her about maybe this is the level he is at, but I'm hoping that they would have said something to Elliot. She wants you to get deeper. She wants you to open up more. So I was hoping. Now you said something about judging. Okay, you said something about judging, and there's another bride who is judging her husband, and they said that he did something, and they said it was going to be like scandalous. Lauren and Clint. Y'all, Lauren is what they have said as a trad wife. I only learned about this now. It is a way of saying traditional wife, where the woman is handling the wifely duties and the household, and the husband is, I guess, hunter gatherer. Okay. He is protecting, providing, all of that stuff. Lauren is thinking Clint is not alpha enough. She wanted an alpha male husband, okay? But Clint is getting spray tans, okay? Clint is going for spa treatments. And the most horrific thing that Clint did this week, two things he did: do the laundry and wash the dishes, okay? That has turned Lauren completely off from Clint. But the other wives were like, Clint, come over to our apartment. If you feel like washing the dishes, she don't have to see you. You could come wash the dishes at our house. So there seems to be an attraction level here that's kind of missing for Lauren. I'm not sure she doesn't understand the alpha she's talking about because she cannot describe it. Because if she really wanted alpha, technically, Elliot with his bad behavior could be considered alpha. Ryan and his warrior self could be considered alpha, and he daggone sure won't be washing the dishes or taking his shoes off at the door. Is that what you wanted? That kind of husband? Clint is quite courteous, gracious. He has the money and life of luxury that she wanted and wished for in a husband, but he just wants to do the laundry and be nice. He even folded the laundry, ladies. He even folded the laundry and had it waiting there for her when she had to go out. Okay? So that is the slight that Clint did to Lauren this week. What are your thoughts on Lauren and Clint?
Yeah, listen. I mean, she's not lying. He's not an alpha. He's not going to be an alpha. Do you know what I mean? So we're gonna have to leave and let him be. But I do understand her sentiments. She's explaining it wrongly, and that tells us she doesn't fully understand it. But what she actually is talking about is a particular energy that she wants from him. But there's a mixture of energy she's asking for. She's asking for somebody to be a bit more assertive. Okay, I think that's what is she's also saying, but she's also talking about how that then plays a role in gender roles and how she sees herself as a woman. She sees herself in a particular gender role, and that makes her feel most feminine and makes the man in her eyes feel the most masculine to her. And I think it's a very stereotypical way of looking at things. I'm not against her. I mean, if it was a man saying this, they would all be killing him. But I mean, I'm not really against her saying this in terms of like wanting that particular aspect. I think the issue we're having is her inflexibility to be able to understand that this is actually a man who's actually got the provider spirit in him, who wants to protect. He's an intellectual. He seems to be very intellectual as well. And thus, though, he actually isn't an alpha. If you were to consider him to be on any of the scales, he'd probably be more of a sigma or maybe even a beta because of the way he uses his intelligence in order to get ahead. By the way, beta is not a bad thing. Beta males actually are very intellectual individuals. They just understand that they are part of a workforce. It's not that bad. But yeah, no. In that aspect, I think that's what she's kind of describing. The issue is that this woman was never attracted to him in the first place, and that's actually the bigger issue because when we the him coming in to wash the dishes, that's not why she turned off. She's turned off because and also she turned off because he's not assertive and that's what she wants, but and he doesn't look like something that she actually wants. And it was going to be very hard also because coming from Elliot to him, yeah, I feel sorry for the kid. He's having to follow up after that young man before him, and also we don't realize how much of an effect that Elliot would have had on her. He left her. This fine ass man who is good looking, and really Elliot is a good looking man. If you were talking about the particular scales in terms of thingy, right? He's a good looking man. You know what I mean? We would have to ask the question why he's on the show, but because he's probably a little bit loopy. But he's a very good looking man. If he was played James Bond, I think we'd all be like, he fits the role. You know what I'm saying to you? So he's eye candy for these ladies. So for him then to leave it after 4 days, that's gonna do a number on you. And then you get hit with Clint, who's not a bad guy actually. He's just following up a person who's mistreated her, and he's very nice. And that's the issue. It's that word nice again. And the reason why I know he was nice is because there ain't no way we would have sat on that couch and you told me that I'm not alpha and I'm not going to tell you, well, let me tell you this now. It doesn't matter if you think I'm alpha or not. I'm a man. I need to respect that. Whether I wash the dishes or not, that's what I do because that's what I like doing. You know what I'm saying to you? I keep my house in order and I keep my house clean. I'll let you know. That's because my assertive energy would have kicked up itself to tell you. But he sat there and took it. And I was like, why don't you sit there and just take it? Because he's not as an assertive individual in that sense. He's got business acumen. He's a golfer who's very competitive and that went and won tournaments. But when it comes to relationships, he's not as assertive. And therefore, unfortunately, he's going to be a turn-off for her, Lauren. Now, is that right? I don't think that's right. I think Lauren should sit her ass down and actually really think about what she's really saying because you've got attitude problems, Lauren, that go beyond just you wanting an alpha male. But, I felt for the kid. I thought she was gonna say she came in and saw him doing something with his body. Okay, I thought that's what was gonna. So I was waiting for her to say he was doing something with his body, and I was gonna be like, oh well, I guess he ain't getting none, so that's why he's doing that. But no, he washing dishes. Oh, get the heck out of here, Lauren.
I thought she was going to say she came in and he was getting a wax or something. I was expecting something wicked. He was talking to an ex. I was expecting all kinds of stuff. I understand her being a little wigged out. He was in the bikini bottoms getting a spray tan. I understand her thinking a man getting a spray tan is a little too much. Okay. But Lauren, everything else is there. The man, is in luxury. He's in e-commerce. He is well-to-do. My problem with Clint, and we saw it when he talked, he was with a woman for almost 10 years and knew she didn't want to have children, but still stayed. So we knew he wasn't assertive. We knew he wasn't going to be taking, the bull by the horns and going through. But Lauren, he wanted to do a kind gesture. Take it as it is. It's a kind gesture. Coming home and not having to wash a plate or do the laundry, it could have been freeing up time for y'all to go out to dinner together. Just leave it alone. You didn't even see him do the laundry. You just came home and saw it done. I'm sorry, and Mr. El Cid, which he does, when he does the laundry, thank you, honey. Thank you so much. I'm not going to go away from a kind gesture. But then again, acts of service is one of my languages. So I'm guessing it's not for Lauren. Definitely not for Lauren. But yeah, they hyped this up to be something that it clearly was not. Anything else for Lauren and Clint? Okay. So we have two more, but here's one that's going to be quick and easy. Beth and TJ, they seem to be coasting along. They did all the confessions and everything. We don't see a whole lot about them at all. We just know that they are going along, but I still don't know what is 2 glasses of still water mean. Do you know? He says we get along like 2 glasses of still water, and
I
I
guess
looked it up, but
no, no.
I,
Mm.
I
I
looked
tried
it
to
up,
I
but
thought I had time, but no.
I looked it up, but people in Australia haven't gotten back to me yet. Like it's supposed to mean we're harmonious.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing ruffling the waters, I guess. Yeah, okay.
I
Yeah,
guess
I
so.
get that.
But
He must have made up
anything
on
to
the
say
spot.
about them?
If honestly, nah, listen. Nah, there ain't nothing I can say.
Okay, so we go to the main event. No pun intended. Okay. Karina and Paul. Okay, so Karina and Paul went out with Jeff and Rye. Apparently, it was Quavo on the radio. Okay, it was. Yup. Karina said that she was with him back in the day, and Jeff and Rye laughed, and Paul did not. Okay, and Paul had a reaction about her sharing one of her past interactions with the gentleman. Okay, so when he was back home, he got mad that the talk escalated. He punched the door. Now we've heard the wall, we heard the door. It has changed, but the police have been called in to investigate. And that is where we are. And the experts were like, why should we not kick you out right now? The one thing I will say on that couch, Karina is saying she's not afraid of this man, and I will take her at her word. But while they were sitting there, Karina never changed frame. Karina sat straight and stiff, and he's holding on to her. He's constantly touching her. He's leaning in and holding and grabbing her, not grabbing in a mean way, but just anchoring himself to her, and she never changes frame. What are your thoughts about Paul and Karina?
You know, when I first heard it, yeah, I was like, you know what? He's been such a good lad. You know what I mean? This is a mistake. You know what? I understand it. Let's move forward. Maybe let's not make too much of this. But as I sat with it, I said, actually, this is crazy. You have to deep the context of why he punched the wall. This is not like we talk about the Allen situation from Married at First Sight. You know, he had just found out his wife just cheated, right? And I still gave him a little bit of hell about that, right? Because I said you can't be burning stuff, right? And punching things. But this situation is what we call retroactive jealousy. And actually, there should be none of this kind of energy that he's bringing, right? Because she said she slept with, and I don't know if there's a little racial thing in there as well. Now I know it's Quavo. I don't know if there's a little racial thing in there that a black man's been inside. I don't know if that's a little something that's going on as well. But I'll say less of that. But just the natural thing is, I get that we can all have insecurities, and we all do, right? So maybe hearing that story of somebody who is more powerful than you, has more money than you might even class maybe better than looking at you. We don't know. I mean, that's up to debate. But whatever you feel like, right, that he may have better attributes than you, right, can make you feel some way. I'm not discarding that at all, right? So you might have had a moment. You might have felt quiet. You might have sat there in quiet silence. You might have been a little bit annoyed or whatever, right? I would have understood that. I'd have said he's been a bit petty, been a bit, But okay, you know what? He was in his feelings. Yeah, we've all been there. But then for him to explain it as he got annoyed because she said it, and by the way, it was within company, not like it wasn't even everybody. It was just Jeff and Ryan. So within their select company, who are good friends of theirs, her mentioning this aspect, right? He mentioned that she said that about how she slept with Quavo or whatever, or she had sex with Quavo or whatever. You know what I'm saying to you? Now, of course, listen, I don't really want to hear, you probably don't want to hear your partner say I slept with somebody like that, right? I can understand that again. That's what I'm saying to you. That would have been understandable for him to be like, go quiet, not want to talk, maybe had a little argument later on. Would have made sense. we probably would say, listen, you probably just need to grow up a little bit, but they're cool. Right? To get home and you're still carrying that energy to a point where you want to punch a door, a wall, it doesn't make a difference, because they now had an argument about the way that she said sorry. And he actually explained it on the couch, which made it even worse. So when he explained it, I thought, no, you are a problem. Because now what you're really saying is, she apologized, but because she had said sorry, I think she said sorry, was it my bad? Something he explained it like sorry, my bad. She said or whatever, and he said that she had said this before, and he told her before. That's what made him feel like she was not actually being true about the sorry. And you're probably right. She might have not. She might have just been saying sorry just to appease you. She ain't really sorry. But you know what you have to do after that? You probably have to have a conversation. The next thing to do is go and punch a wall or a door. Okay, and I know she wasn't. I think she was asleep, wasn't she, when this happened? I think, or she was next door or something like that.
She was awake. She was just laying on the bed with her back to him.
Okay. So, and then he went and punched the door. Okay. And I'm explaining this for a reason, because we actually need to actually flesh it all the way out as to why I said it's very, very serious. And then punch the door. Now, here is where I think, okay, this is a crazy story. It's mad. It's bad. That's actually not where I actually got more alarmed. It's actually on the couch that I was alarmed. The amount of crying that he's doing is making me feel manipulated, and I don't like it, number one. Number two, when you described also her body language, there was something else that was also happening. There's something, and this is where it made me feel like he could be an abuser. And I didn't want to think that. I didn't want to think it. But at this point, I started thinking it. When this situation is happening, that he's trying to comfort her, but he's the one that's breaking down. And there's a hand on the shoulder, and you can see it. He's squeezing. And I said, that is the abusive aspect. That squeezing that he's doing is where you're about to start your madness later on down the line. Because if I've done something like that, I've never done anything like that, so I don't know. But I'm not about to now put my arm on you and I'm now squeezing your shoulder as if she's the one that needs help. You're the one that needs it. You're the one that needs comfort. You're now squeezing her hand. Her knee as what her leg. He was squeezing her leg to kind of like almost as if he was trying to comfort her. But it felt like, you ever read the story of Mice and Men? Lenny, the big ass dude who then, unfortunately kills a woman, unalives a woman, and it's because he's too strong. That's how I started feeling with him. Every movement now became too heavy. And I said, his emotional state and this squeezing that he's doing is where the punch came from. And he'll do it again. Because he doesn't have his emotions under check. You are trying to show me that you're remorseful, but the behavior is showing me you're about to do it again. So that squeeze on the shoulder, squeeze on the knee he was doing. At one point, he had to put his hand in between his thighs. I guess maybe he didn't want to show his fist, but it looked like you were trying to hold yourself back. I said, nah, you are a problem. And I didn't want to see you like that because I felt that you guys had such a great run. But I'm now seeing that your overly emotional state is what's causing you to lose control. This is not going to be a one-off because of the way you're doing it. The overreaction of the crying and then wanting to go into her body and everything like that, it was just too much. I said, nah. This is where it starts from. It's normally Negroes that are like this emotional, trying to show you that how remorseful they are through crying, that usually are the ones who do this and tell you sorry later on. So I understood why she was saying she wasn't afraid, because he hasn't shown that behavior probably yet. So I can understand why she might have said she wasn't afraid. But like you said, that body language, I think if he hadn't reacted the way he reacted on the couch, the way he's been so emotional, and he's almost taken up all her oxygen. If he hadn't done that and just kind of sat in his set and then said, listen, look, I know where I've gone wrong. You know what I mean? Then maybe, and I had to put my hands up, but it was the consistent crying like a child does to you when they know they took the cookie out of the jar and they know they're about to be told off and they're trying to manipulate you so you don't tell them off. No, we're going to tell you off. We going to tell you off. And that's how I felt about it. And I said, he going to do it again.
Great analogy with the kid in the cookie jar that know they've been wrong and know that the principal done called home and mom and dad about to read into you and you just want to be remorseful so that punishment ain't gonna land as hard as it really should. But the stoicism after he was, as you said, squeezing her shoulder, holding on to her, it kind of gave me like a deer when they heard something. It's like, I don't want to make too many sudden movements. I don't want to trip him off and send him into another tailspin. It's giving me, even though she says she's not afraid of him, her body is reacting in a fearful manner, like, I don't want to throw anything more at him because he can't handle it. That's how her body was giving. And when they went into the back, because they choose to keep them on the show, they said they will keep them there. There were a lot of things saying that, domestic dispute, they do not agree with this, but they are giving him help, therapy, or whatever to talk to someone. Um, in the back there, when he was wrapping up crying onto her, I'm like, she can't breathe. So if he is this emotional, what else would he be emotional about? No, we just talked about Elliot being stoic. What else is he going to be emotional about that she probably has to be the pillar? And he just, as you said, suck all the oxygen out of the room. Now she's got to comfort him, and she cannot deal with and process her own emotions. And she now has to sweep everything under the rug, as she said she normally does. It seems like Paul is a pattern of man that she's usually with, as far as that emotional imbalance right there. Was there anything else with Karina and Paul to talk about?
No, yeah, I just think to again, this goes back to what we said about also Married at First Sight in US, and those things. It's like we understand that situations are very difficult, right? And everything's about context. This is what I mean by when I say everything's about context. Look, listen, and I say this as somebody who has gone through, been cheated on before. Listen, I've been angry, but my thought has not been to punch walls, and it's because maybe I implode my anger a little bit more. I do more avoidance techniques, right? But I'd rather be an avoidance technique than be explosive, because you're destructive when you're explosive. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, what you're seeing from Paul is actually normally how it starts and how you see people actually behave. And like I said, I didn't want to believe that. That's not me as a man being biased. I did not want to believe that and be like, this guy, this is like a really nice guy who's really treating his girlfriend, his wife right. He's doing all the right things. He's loving her. It's come out of the nowhere. But when they tell you the story of how it got there, and then you see what he does and see how he's behaved, this is actually quite scary. And so the next thing you almost do, like if I'm her brother, I'm gonna tell her, listen, I can't tell you to quit because you might not want to quit, but I have to say, listen, the next time if there's even a whiff of him even trying to put his hands near you, you let us know, because we're now pulling you out. You know, but we're supporting you in everything you're doing, because I don't want you to feel like you got no support. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Because it seems like all the men on the couch, all the other grooms, do not condone this, of course.
Don't at all.
They do not. They're not piling on Paul, but they are like, we watching too. So if you need us, Karina, we here too. So I did like how they handled it. I did like the fact that they discussed this. I'm not sure I would have made the same decision, but again, how can the man grow? I don't think Paul is a bad person. He's had a bad moment, and I'm hoping this is not defining him and that he's not going to do this in the future. Because guess what, Paul? Karina ain't going to share other things in her life if you're going to pop off like this. This is just one moment. This is just, what are you going to do in private? If Jeff and Rye didn't know, were you going to still have a reaction? If we didn't have a camera crew, what could happen? So I'm hoping this is not him. He said it's never happened in the past. Word on the street, we have not heard any other ladies come out as of yet to say that he's behaved like this. So I will give him a little bit of grace unless we hear a marching band outside saying Paul has done this before. But yes, we are rooting for this couple. We are hoping that this couple can pull through, and I'm hoping that they use them as a great platform to step off and talk about these situations and how things could escalate and what you need to watch out for. But that's all the couples for this week. Definitely. Please, everyone, please make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe to both channels. Our names are on the screen. Koja's with Little Black Book 91. I'm Elsid 932. Koja, you want to share what else you're working on?
Well, obviously, we will have Love is Blind tonight at 5 p.m. EST. No, I say 5 p.m. It's 5:25 p.m. EST. So we'll be live talking about Love is Blind episodes 10 to 11 as well. Shout out to Esther, appreciate you. So we'll be discussing 10 to 11, and then also we will be talking about Married at First Sight next week, Wednesday with the boys, and then Thursday we have the open panel with the rest of the gang as well. So yeah, that's what we're working on as well. So yeah.
Right, everybody. Yes, we will be here back next week at 3:05 EST. Please make sure you're subscribed in case we have to change the times. Married at First Sight Australia. It airs from Sunday to Wednesday here on the East Coast of the U.S. Sunday through Wednesday each week. And we will be here to do a weekly recap for you and discuss what's going on. As Kojo said, Little Black Book 91, we are doing Love is Blind Minnesota, which is on Netflix. There's also Married at First Sight US, which I believe the last episode or second to last episode is this week. So please continue to join us and follow us. And I'm also doing Ready to Love, which is Ready to Love Philadelphia on Fridays at 9:05 EST on Another Round JS with our good friend Jay. So we have a lot of stuff to keep you entertained each week. So I appreciate you all, and we will see you next time.